Do you ever feel like you're holding yourself back from your true potential? That maybe if you could just shake some bad habits, your life would be so much better? Well, this eye-opening book describes exactly how to overcome self-sabotage so that we can become the best versions of ourselves. And there's a reason why it sold millions of copies. I'll be sharing my favorite ideas from the book, diving into topics like subconscious desires, comfort zones, and emotional intelligence. By the end, I hope that you'll be ready to finally become the person you were always meant to be. So first of all, you are not a failure. You are not messed up. You are valuable as you are, and you always will be. It's easy to think that we self-sabotage because we're not good enough, or smart enough, or capable of anything more. But actually, self-sabotage is not a way we hurt ourselves, it's a way we try to protect ourselves. The author of the book, Brianna Wiest, points out that humans are actually incredible at doing pretty much whatever they want to do, even if it means terrible consequences for everyone else, including future versions of themselves. So, if you're keeping something in your life, there has to be a reason you want it there. The only question is why. If you're self-sabotaging, it usually means your subconscious has found a way to meet an unfulfilled need, emotion, or desire. So to overcome a self-sabotaging behavior, we first need to ask ourselves why we are keeping it in our lives. What need is it fulfilling? Then, once we understand what these needs are, we can start to redirect our energy into meeting them in a healthier way. Overcoming self-sabotage is not about trying to figure out how to override your impulses. It is first determining why those impulses exist in the first place. Alright, so to help you understand what we're talking about, let's cover an example. Imagine a person has a goal of becoming extremely wealthy, but no matter what they do, they just cannot motivate themselves to start their new business. It could be that actually, deep down, they don't care about having a lot of money. What they really want is to feel secure and protected from life's hardships. They're going to struggle to motivate themselves because a part of their psyche knows that actually having a lot of money won't protect them from the difficulties of life. In fact, it could actually bring more struggles, as often successful people are criticized harshly or they're met with a lot of jealousy. Or maybe it's not that at all, and instead it's because they have a subconscious belief that rich people are vain and greedy. A belief that may have been instilled from their parents when they were young. Or maybe it's not that either, and actually they just don't believe they will ever be successful in their real passion, so they fall back on this fake dream instead. And the fake dream just doesn't actually motivate them. So as you can see, there could be any number of subconscious desires and beliefs at play. Self-sabotage is what happens when we refuse to consciously meet our innermost needs, often because we do not believe we are capable of handling them. Basically, a lot of the time these behaviors are just coping mechanisms to meet needs that we don't recognize that we have, perhaps because we don't want to address them. But coping mechanisms aren't solutions, they're just ways to feel relief. You cannot get rid of the coping mechanisms and think you've solved the problem. What you need to do is to try to analyze yourself as best and as honestly as you can, and try and discover what needs or beliefs you are meeting with your self-sabotaging behaviors. If you can recognize and accept your true needs, then you can work to meet them consciously in a healthy and positive way. Similarly, if you have self-sabotaging beliefs, you have to begin challenging them and then start adopting new ones. Once you begin to question these pre-existing beliefs, you begin to see how warped and illogical they were all along, not to mention distinctly holding you back from your ultimate potential. But here's a super important question you have to ask yourself. Is this actually right for me? Do you actually want to be successful, or do you just want acceptance? Are you in love with a person, or do you like the idea of the relationship? Sometimes self-sabotage can show us that what we thought was right for us actually isn't, and that we might need to reevaluate to discover what is. It's easy to get stuck with old dreams or ideas of ourselves and want to hold on to them tightly so that we don't disappoint our younger selves. But our only responsibility is to make decisions for the person we have become. Maybe you don't want your life to prioritize work, but instead you want to spend it exploring the world. Maybe having thriving relationships is the most important thing to you, or helping others, or committing yourself to your art, or just having peace at the end of each day. Maybe the career that you've been in for 10 years just no longer works for you. When we let go of what isn't right for us, we create space to discover what is. You may believe that as humans, we would naturally want to do whatever is best for us and is going to make us as happy as possible. But that's actually not the case. In reality, we seek what we've known. That's because the unknown is basically the ultimate loss of control, which, through evolution, we have recognized threatens our survival. So we feel a natural resistance to the unknown and feel best when we are in our comfort zone. This can be problematic because often what we feel the most comfortable with can be harmful. So for example, if you grew up having to earn love from your parents, then receiving unconditional love as an adult may feel wrong. So even though you're older now, you can end up rejecting love that isn't earned, choosing to sacrifice it for the familiar feelings of a partner that only gives you love when you earn it from them too. Anything that is foreign, no matter how good will also be uncomfortable until it is also familiar. It's really easy to confuse the uncomfortable feelings of the unknown as being signs that that thing is wrong for us. So for example, we could decide that writing a novel is undoubtedly the best thing for us, that it will definitely bring us many positives that we definitely do want in our lives. But then when we start, it could feel wrong because we aren't used to writing every day, and so it's hard and uncomfortable. It'd be easy to confuse these feelings and then conclude that we weren't born to write and that we should chase another dream instead. But perhaps if we were to have stuck it out and become comfortable with our new routine, these feelings would lessen and we'd actually feel good doing the work we need to do. Wiest says that most people don't actually change their lives until not changing becomes the less comfortable option. They reach a point where they can no longer resist not changing as the consequences are coming their way, so they need to change. The trick though is to recognize when we need to change well before this happens. But if we try to shock ourselves into change by throwing too much at ourselves at once, then it just won't work. We will be far too uncomfortable and quickly resort to our old ways. What we need to do is to gradually accustom ourselves to a better way of living, slowly over time. If we make one small change a day, every day, that will compound into a life that we could never even imagine us living. So to make this clear, imagine you're someone who eats a lot of junk food and sits around all day. You suddenly decide you want to become a healthy person, and so you think, starting from tomorrow, you'll exercise for 2 hours every day and eat nothing but fruits and vegetables, only drink water, and cut out all technology. You may try that and be successful for a little while, but sooner or later you will miss one thing, then the next day miss another, then tell yourself, oh what the hell, and give up everything. But if you tell yourself you'll drink one less sugary drink a day, then you can easily maintain that, and you probably will. Life pretty much feels the same, but at the end of the day, you're putting less sugar into your body. Then, once that becomes your new normal, you tell yourself you'd like to go for a 10-minute walk each morning before work. Eventually, when that is comfortable too, you can extend the time spent walking, make it a run, remove sweets or other food groups from your diet, etc. After a while, you're going to end up being a much healthier person than when you started, all from tiny micro adjustments that you barely even felt you were making. So as you can see, sometimes what is right for us isn't necessarily what feels right in the moment. This is why it's super important to intelligently design our lives using logic, not emotions. Not every feeling that we have is a true depiction of reality, and we shouldn't treat them as such. If we feel that we're ugly and that no one will love us unless we are attractive, then it isn't helpful to take these feelings as gospel. We need to bring in logical thinking to tell ourselves that actually everyone's preferences are different. Who one person finds unattractive, another may see as beautiful. That attraction is only a very small part of choosing a partner. That there are small things that we can do to improve our attractiveness, etc, etc. Someone that believes these feelings without questioning them will live their life feeling self-conscious and hide from every opportunity of love. But someone that can use logic to overcome them will feel more content with themselves and seek out these opportunities. And we can apply this to our goals. A lot of the time we don't feel like doing the work. Instead, we feel like watching TikTok or seeing our friends. But we need to recognize that sometimes what we feel is not important. We know that if we can make ourselves do it regardless of how we feel, afterwards we're going to feel accomplished and be closer to reaching our goals. Feelings do not inform you of the right decision to make. Right decisions create the right feelings. However, this doesn't mean repressing every emotion that you don't want. It's really important to make sure we feel and validate the emotions that we have. If we can't allow ourselves to feel them, then we can't let them go. Instead, they get stored within us, bubbling up until one day we just can't take it anymore, and then they come crashing out in an overpowering and potentially destructive manner. When you are no longer scared to feel anything, when you no longer resist any one part of your life, something magical happens. You find peace. Part of why we find this hard to do is because we know we can't just burst out into tears whenever, wherever. For instance, if we're at our desk at work. But it's perfectly fine to put our emotions to the side temporarily, as long as we make sure we release them when we're in a better space. It can also be really scary to feel certain emotions. But when we stop resisting feeling sad and just let ourselves be sad, we realize it will not last forever. In refusing to accept what is in front of us, we create so much more suffering than we would if we just had a cry when we needed to have a really good cry. So how can we go from self-sabotage to self-mastery? The answer is by developing principles. For example, if you have money problems, the solution usually isn't earning more money. It's developing money principles. Principles such as living below your means, invest in spare change, building an emergency fund, and so on. Even someone that earns millions a year could be in debt and have money problems, and they will do until they develop money principles. When you have relationship problems, you need relationship principles. Work problems, you need work principles. And life problems, life principles. You could have your absolute dream job and still not be happy until you develop work principles. Principles like rationing your time and relating to others in the workplace. The point of having principles is that it shifts you from short-term survival to long-term thriving. Principles are less exciting than inspirational messages that are going to make you feel good. But principles are real. You will inevitably reap what you sow. If you develop the principle of only eating healthy foods, you will eventually become a healthy person. If you commit to writing one sentence a day, you will inevitably write a larger piece of work. Little things done repeatedly and over time become the big things. Nobody is born with principles, you have to learn them. You can develop your own principles by deciding what you genuinely care about and want in your life, and then find out the steps you can take to have them. So for example, you may decide that you value family time more than work. So by principle, you will leave work on time to go home earlier to your family. When you are clear on what your principles are, you can build your life from a genuine, healthy place. You can start working toward goals that support what you do and do not want to experience. They will make you the calmest and happiest version of yourself. So if you want to turn self-sabotage into self-mastery, try this. Figure out what subconscious needs or beliefs are being met by your sabotaging behaviors. Figure out what you truly want for your life. Expect to feel discomfort. Feel your emotions, but don't let them control you. Develop principles. There's a lot more value in the actual book, so if you want to learn more about self-sabotage, I definitely recommend it.